ourselves. It's kind of like you sit in a room where there's food all around, and they ask you, "Hey, who wants some food?" But you don't raise your hand, even though you're thinking it. You want some food, but you don't raise your hand. So through us conversating, that's what we're doing. We're raising our hands. We're letting everyone in the room know that, hey, we want to eat too. And that's what we want everybody to do. We want you to voice your opinion, whether you agree with us or not. That's not the whole thing about this. Is we want your dialect. Only through, again, what one of our subscribers is saying is that's the only way we're gonna grow.
Hmm.
We have to sharpen each other. Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, facts. I agree. I see another comment from Miss Angela, and thank you for being an active participant. She says, I think X is showing another way, a different direction, which I support. Like I said, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I agree with
I
that all.
totally agree with that.
You know,
Yes,
and
indeed.
it's what's interesting is that even though all three of us and in the comments may have said something a little different or a different way, it really still is saying that we need to come
Yes,
together, which is
totally.
awesome, right? And so now it's kind of like thinking, okay, so what things do we have control over, right? We cannot control anyone probably outside of our four walls, right? But what things do we have control over? And I think that's something that all of our viewers and us three can just think of on our own. What do I have control over to make that statement and that change that I want to see?
Yeah, yeah. But at the end of the day, I don't know how much longer we're gonna go because been going for a minute and it's this great
It,
dialogue. But
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
it's a
the
hot
bottom
topic.
line is, you know, we need to stick together. We need to come together on common ground so that we can all achieve this goal of depending on us. And my opinion, it's not going to happen if we keep saying, "Oh, this system is not for us," because if we don't have a voice in the system, we don't have a voice. Period. You know, in I think the best way that I could put it, like the best way I could put it is, all right, let's just all go into the woods and build log cabins and not be a part of the system, and let's just depend on each other. We can go catch raccoons, squirrels, deer, and whatever the case may be and live off the land. Okay, perfect. Now we have a perfect society to where we're not depending on the system, we're just depending on us. But at some point, some of us are going to be like, you know what, I'm not feeling this because I'm isolated from the world. It's good for us to have this foundation. It's good for us to have, us to depend on. But we have nothing if we're not bartering with the system. Period. And I will tell you, I love watching Smithsonian Channel. I watch Ariel America, and it gives me a lot of history on how a lot of things transpire in this country. And one of the main things that I get from watching Ariel America is how the European settlers and whatever the case may be came and they took and they took and they took and they took. Yes, we have made strides in that, but we need to make more strides in order to say, you know what? You're not going to keep taking from me. And if I can get my people behind me and we can stand together, we can't say, oh, this system ain't for us. We can't, it is impossible to what Cheryl said, about having a separate system. It's impossible to have a separate system in this country. That's not going to happen. That's going to be called treason, insurrection, or whatever you want to call it. So the thing is, we need to stick together. We need to circulate our dollars. We need to elevate our people into these positions. We need to stop having this, you know what, I'm better than you mentality, as Katrina was saying. We need to stop overpricing each other and this, that, and the other. And I think Angela mentioned that. So the thing about it is, if we have this all inclusive mentality about us and building with us and pushing outward while building inward, then okay, we have this foundation to where we can say, it's about us. We don't have to say our system as if it's a separate system from the American system, because that's not what the Jews are doing. That's not what the Hispanics are doing. That's not what the Middle Eastern are doing. That's not what the Africans are doing. They're coming in and they're building their systems within the system, because they can't separate from the system. It's impossible to separate from the system. So you have to, it's just like General Motors Corporation. You have General Motors Corporation. So you have GMC, you have Chevy, you had Saturn, you got Buick, you had Oldsmobile, you had Pontiac. So you have this big system, but you got these little ancillary systems under it, and they're thriving. So if you have that mentality and stop saying, "Oh, I'm not going to be a part of this," that's not working. Even if you look at all these separate car corporations, take GMC for instance. My first car was a Geo Prism. That's a Chevy car, but it was built jointly with Toyota. So that's a system within a system. They're not saying, "Oh, we're not going to be a part of the system." They're saying, how can we work this system to our benefit? Okay, let's do X, Y, and Z. Okay, now we got this big hub. Now we got this over here. That's a foreign company over there. We can bring this all together, and we're building this, that, and the other, and we're thriving, and we're excelling, and we're exceeding. So you can't have the mentality of, "Oh, I'm not trying to be a part of the system. That don't work for me, this, that, and the other." No. If our people come together under the same mind and we push together and push forward, we have a bigger platform to stand on, and they cannot ignore it. Even if you look at Christianity, look at all the denominations under Christianity. Although they war with each other, "Oh, this is the right path to God, this, that, and the other," at the end of the day, what's the end goal? Getting to God. So it doesn't matter what you say, the end goal is to get to God. So for us, if we stick together, it doesn't matter what the hell we say. The end goal is to thrive and move forward. Period.
Something, and it just came to my mind when you were mentioning, about being a part of the system and that. One thing that we didn't talk about, which I don't know enough about, but the Native American reservations, they are on their own system, right? So if they have their own law and order, their own laws. I would be interested. I don't know if anybody else knows any more about it, but kind of how did they do that? Maybe that is something kind of in a way what X is saying about not being part of the system. I don't know why that just came in my head. I was like, wait a minute. All these casinos, they built on their own land and they have their own law and order. I mean, I do still feel like you still need a foot at the table with certain things, but that is interesting to know if anybody has any information on that.
Son, you want to jump in on that? Because I have comments on that, but if you want to jump in on that first, I'll let you go.
I'll just simply say that's a good point. They do have their own nation within this nation, and they do thrive. They thrive very well. Actually, one of my clients that I deal with, it's on a reservation, casino, and all that. But yeah, I feel like everything that we're talking about now, right? It either has been done before, and it can be replicated better, and that's all I'll say.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump on this because again, I watch Smithsonian Channel a lot, watch Aerial America, and a few of the episodes where they talk about Florida, Oklahoma, and a lot of places where Native Americans were prominent. The when you speak about them having their own law and order and their own this, that, and the other, the problem with that is, and this probably goes back to Son's point of his point of view. They were granted these lands. Mind you, these lands belong to them. And it was stolen from them. And the problem with that is when these lands were granted to them, a lot of these places they found gold. So the United States went went against their treaties and promises and took the land from them, eradicated a lot of them, and put them in pockets of land and said, "Hey, this is yours." A lot of that land was still a lot of them that land was taken from them. A lot of those Native American tribes are no longer here because of the greed of the American system. Now they stuck together, they fought, but the problem is they still have billions of dollars in United States trust that they refuse to take. Even though they have been granted land and reservations, they still have money in trust that they refuse to take because of how it was done. Now, can they take that land and do whatever that money or whatever and do whatever? They probably can. Will we have that? Probably not likely. Do they have their own laws and this, that, and other? Yes, they do. But at the same time, their laws and everything that they have do not supersede this American system. So the best thing that they can do, and their numbers are probably less than ours now, is stick together. They stick together on these reservations. But if you look at and I can't say for certain the dynamics of their communities, but from what we hear, they're not in a position to where they are thriving like they should be because of the system. But they have theirs. Now, I say that to make this point. We have not been blessed with what we deserve from the United States government from over 400 years of oppression in Jim Crow and all that other stuff. But we have the opportunities by a lot of prominent people with money to do that, they won't do it. You have LeBron James who's doing what he's doing. He got schools and this, that, and the other. You have a lot of prominent athletes or whatever doing these things, but the problem is they don't do it in mass. Like you have Tyler Perry, who brought the Confederate, base in Georgia. Great thing. Now, just think, really think, if we had more of our people doing that, where we would be. But since we don't have more people doing that, we can't say it's the system. We have to say it's our people. If our people had that mentality of Tyler Perry or LeBron James, again, do you understand where we would be? Angela says they're still fighting and trying to get rights. They definitely are still trying to fight to get rights. They got their land, but they still depend on several of the American systems, schools, medical. They for sure do. And that is the problem. They put them on these lands and I don't know, but from what I hear, from what I've read, from what I watched on TV, a lot of them are drunk, gamblers, this, that, and the other. Now, let's transport that whole thing to the Black community. We have a lot of people who are drug addicts, alcoholics or whatever the case may be. And the one thing, and I don't know if this is off topic, but the one things that burned me the fuck up is, people say, oh, weed is from the earth. No, it's not. Well, it is, but I don't give a fuck if it's from the earth. I don't care if it's from the earth. If you, as a grown up, oh, weed is from the earth, blah, 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 and then we have our children smoking weed in middle school and high school, and it's not benefiting them, it's getting them in trouble, this, that, and the other. What the hell do you think is going to come from that when they get adults? Now we got a bunch of fucking weed heads and dope heads and a bunch of alcoholics. What does that lead to? Crime, lack of education, lack of common sense, lack of self-awareness. Okay, now Son Solex, you said we need to have our own thing. We got these kids that's coming behind us that are drug addicts and shit that don't have no motivation and no desire, no drive to do any goddamn thing. Do we still really blame the system? Do we really? We need to look inside of our culture. If you listen to the rap music, what Molly Percocet, really? What are you teaching? The person that's making that song probably don't even do half that shit. But you got these kids out here thinking that's the shit. That's what they supposed to be doing. Then when it comes to, you know what? Hey, we need a black doctor. You know what? I need a doctor that looks like me, which is a topic that we're going to have. We need somebody who's good in accounting. We need somebody who's good in real estate. We need somebody who's good in psychology, stuff like that. We need people in places that look like us, that cater to us, that uplift us, that in turn keep our dollar in our community. You can't blame the system for that. Doing drugs, weed, crack, cocaine, heroin, whatever. Being an alcoholic. That has nothing to do with the system. It has to do with the fucking environment. I hate fucking drugs. I hate them. Why? Because I've watched, and let me tell you this, I've watched enough movies to say, I don't want to do that. Why? Because if I do that, I'll lose my job. I might not be able to drive. And if I lose my job and can't drive, that means I can't take care of my kids. And then if I can't take care of my kids, now I have kids out here who have this mentality of, oh, fuck him. He's my dad, but fuck him. He ain't doing shit for me, blah, blah, blah. Do you see where that mentality goes? And then you can't say it's the system. Because if I fail as a father to teach my kids the right way to go, I can't sit here and stand on the pedestal with a microphone and a bullhorn and be like, hey, we need to build for our community. We need to have our own. I can't do that. Why? Because I've done nothing to put the generation that's coming behind me in place or have the mindset to say, we need to have our own. Period.
Drops mic. Yeah.
Well, we'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to the King and I Life podcast, especially all of our participants with questions and comments. We truly appreciate it. And we want to thank the Miss Kiss for coming on and joining us tonight. It was truly a pleasure. I sharpen your iron, Miss. You really made some very valid points. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your view with us.
And I thank you both for, accepting me and coming on. This topic was intense. It was intense. It's stuff that's going on right now. But I look forward to coming back for some fun conversations to get us, smiling and laughing. But this is definitely always much needed. And I look forward, to further in-depth conversations that we need here. So, I see some good comments in here from our viewers. So yeah, it was great. It was great.
I don't know if I would apologize for going so long. We've been on here for a minute, but about 2 hours. But this is a topic that plagues and also strengthens our awareness in our community, because it's not really talked about in a manner in which it really forces our community as a whole to make change. And I think that's what needs to happen, because um we need this foundation. We need to be, we need, as you were saying, son, we need to be able to have our own. But at the end of the day, just my opinion, we need to be all inclusive. We need to be all in, because when the first people came from Europe to here, they said, we want to get away from that type of nonsense to create this. And they did it. They did it. And in creating that, they brought some of that mentality from over there over here. But the thing about it is, they came over here and made that change, and now the whole entire world has looked to this country as the framework for how society should be, as flawed as it is. And then when you look at how far we have come inside of this system, if we didn't fight for the things that we wanted, if women didn't fight for the things that we wanted, if the LGBTQ community didn't fight for the things that they wanted, we would not have the things that we have today. None of us expected to see a Black president. None of us expected to see a Black female vice president. So what I mean by that is, we need to be a part of the system, to change the system, to better it for us. And the last point that I want to make before I pass it on to Son is, reparations has been a conversation that has been thrown around for years. But again, if we're not voting the people in place who have that same mindset that we have, we're not going to get it. Imagine if every Black person voted, but they put the person in office, from county judges, sheriffs, state representatives, mayors, city council, governors. If we put those people in place, we will move the Richter scale to a point where they cannot say no. They can't say no. But we have to have the people in place. And I'll pass that back to you.
More. I agree with you more. Before we close out, I will say this. As a nation, we've watched many of occasions where the people have been hurt. The people. I don't care if you're black, white, green, gray, yellow, whatever you may be, you're still a human being. You're a person. So before we can sit up here and say this system isn't for us, or we say that this system is for us, I think we have to recognize that we're all human beings first. And I say this with the utmost respect for this nation. Just because I don't agree with the political system of it, don't mean I don't love the people and I don't love the land. And I think that that's one of the things that as long as we're divided as people, our nation will never get to the place where it truly could be. And that's putting the people first.
So with that, Cheryl's last comment, and then we'll take this is the last comment of the night. We can't thrive as a community until we learn how to successfully navigate the system in which we live so we can bring what we've learned back to our communities. I cannot agree more.
Right on,
I
Sharon.
think at
Totally.
the end of the day, I think that's what all of us as hosts of this segment truly see. And we need to find ways to bring it all together, build a stronger foundation, starting with our communities. And it's like a tree. You plant that seed, you root it in, you grow that, and you branch out. So once you have that, there's nothing that they can take from us. Um,
Agreed more.
if y'all don't have anything else to put into that, I would like to thank everybody for joining the King and I Life podcast. Our special guest is Chanel on here. Phoenix, hopefully she'll join us on the next one. But we definitely thank y'all for y'all input. We definitely thank y'all for your time because y'all could be anywhere,
True that.
but y'all chose to give us your time. And we hope that we gave y'all something that was fruitful. We hope that we gave y'all something that was passionate to all of us. Hope that we leave this with a common understanding that we are for all of us, regardless of our difference of opinion.
Correct.
Definitely our email address is right there. Drop us comments, your input, whatever it is. If you have any future topics for us that you want us to touch on and discuss, please email us and give us a few bullets to whatever that you want us to bring up so that we can give you that conversation that you want us to give to you. If you want to be a part of our podcast, shoot us an email and let us know what you want to discuss. We have some other topics on hand, but definitely give us that feedback because it's not only about us, it's about you. And we want to branch out and explore all of that. We are worldwide on this podcast. Trust me when I tell you, we are in India right now.